nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no visitors to be heard, even though I did not put it on the agenda. We could still have entertained some.
All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. All right, the next on our agenda, 4A, approval of our 23-24 audit. Allison?
I'm going to check it. Unfortunately, the auditors couldn't be here to present this, so I did include in your packet a summary of the audit highlights.
What page number? Tell them.
I don't have the page number because my packet doesn't have page numbers. Sorry, my packet doesn't have page numbers, so I don't know what page. Page 10?
Page 10.
And then the audit is right behind that. I'm not an auditor by any means, so I'm going to go through the highlights with y'all. And if you have any further questions, you can contact the auditor directly. And they'll be happy to answer those for y'all. So the first 2 pages are the auditor's report. It's an unqualified opinion, which is good. That means it's a clean audit. Page 7 is the fund balance sheet. EDC has $1,243,004 in fund balance that is restricted for economic development. Page 9 is your fund revenues and expenditures. The EDC reported an increase in the fund balance for the year ending 2024 in the amount of $214,349. So you brought in more than you spent. And then we have the budget to actual, and you had a positive variance of $638,350. And this is because you budgeted a lot more than you spent. So, and that's something we're gonna address in the next budget, so. Next one is your material weakness. Although it was a clean audit, you still did have a material weakness, and that is that bank reconciliations were not done timely or prepared and did not fully reconcile to the general ledger. So if this is a matter that's not taken care of, this will eventually not be a clean audit. Since this was the first time this happened, they still give you a clean opinion. So that's just something to be mindful of in the future. I know I'm doing it now, but I might not always be. So just keep that in mind, whoever does your books later on, that they are on top of your books. It's really important to your audit.
I saw here some recommendations, that one of the recommendations was an year-end closing procedure.
Yes.
That we don't have a procedure for that, so I did see where they did recommend that.
Yep, I was going to go over that one next. The recommendations is to put in place year-end closing procedures, which is something we can definitely work on.
And is that something that you can do?
It was a recommendation for the city a couple years ago as well. So, so like the other things I've done, I can pull the cities and do something comparable for the EDC. So that's not a big deal.
So overall, it was a good audit.
Good. Yep.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we
and
will
it
need.
goes into more detail in the audit report. You guys can flip through. You know,
Do we need to work on reconciling the ledger over time, or just?
so we're caught up to date right now.
Okay.
I've already done August. I did it yesterday. But when I took it over, it hadn't been done since September. So,
Okay.
so I am worried when we have our audit for this year that it's probably going to be a finding because it is all tracked and time stamped. They're going to see that we didn't do them for 11 months. So it could potentially show up on your audit again, but going forward, I hope that it's corrected on. But yeah, right now we're all up to date with
Okay.
reconciliations on all the accounts.
Yes, thank you, Alice.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
And we will need a motion and a second to approve this so that they can start working on the next year.
Do we have a motion to approve our? Yes, go ahead.
I move to approve the budget as it is. I mean, the audit.
Lynn, second? Call the vote. All those in favor of approving our 23-24 audit? Aye. The next is approval of a resolution updating our bank signers to be listed as President Manny Longoria, Vice President Lord Davenport, Director Lynn Palmer, and Director Patricia McMullen. As our banking signatories.
And this will be for Bandera Bank and Techstar Bank. So it's resolution 2025-001. I didn't find any resolutions y'all have adopted this year, but if something comes up in the future, I can always number it A or B or something like that. So we just need this approved so we can move forward with the bank and have all the people, I think, which is just Debbie, and I don't know about the Tom thing, but anyway, we can get everybody removed that needs to be removed and these people added.
Lynn?
What was the resolution number?
2025-001.
Go ahead, Lynn.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution 2025-001, updating the bank signatures.
It's been moved. We got a second?
Second.
Patricia? Call the vote. All those in favor? Motion passes. Next is discussion and approval of professional services agreement with the city of Bandera. Jill?
Sure, I'll hit on it and then I'll let the attorney talk. This is just going to be discussion tonight. We won't be approving it because there's a lot of blanks and things that need to be filled in. But y'all wanted to see this so that it can be on your next regular meeting, which is in 2 weeks. And by that time, we'll have time to hash everything out. This will be an agreement where we will be covering administrative services. We're still working on the services, and we have to fill those in as far as myself, Allison, whoever, during city hours, how that will be reimbursed, how it will be reimbursed after city hours. Those are the type questions that where we're at right now on page 2. That's why you see blanks. And also the amendment or the exhibit A is scope of services that needs to be filled in, which Allison and I will be working with the attorney on. But this, was drawn up by our attorney, Matt. He's here and he can answer any questions, but basically you can review it. This is his document that he's prepared for y'all per your request, and we just need to fill in the blanks. So
I have one question. Should this go before the city council first?
It's gonna have to go to the city council too, because they're gonna have to approve it as well.
But
So it'll go.
do we do it
Do we approve our-
before it comes before the EDC for approval with all of the, because I don't know if they're aware officially that we are doing this contract with city employees.
So under the bylaws, you're allowed to, under the
Okay.
current bylaws, you're allowed
Okay.
to have an administrative services agreement. It
Sure.
is allowed.
Okay.
But because you are contracting with the city, you're using the benefit of public funds to not have to go and, hire outside people, pay all the other benefits. So it will have to go to city council or the city administrator, because I'm not sure, we just need to figure out what amount you want to have in there,
Mhm.
what kinds of services and how it's gonna be paid.
Okay.
What I would suggest is doing a monthly bill so that they keep track of the time that they spend, and then that gets billed to the EDC against the total amount that y'all are going to budget for this.
Certainly.
And then obviously city duties, it can interfere with the city duties will have to come first. But they've got a lot of knowledge on the certain software
Sure.
programs and those kinds of things, so whatever's billed will then be credited,
And historically, we're used to a monthly invoice.
Yeah, and I was
That
gonna
works
say
with our-
historically,
Yeah.
the EDC funds have been used to pay an outside person to do the administrative type work for the EDC board. So, but I think it'll be better to have the city on board, and that way we can just all be on one page.
Look for a new draft soon.
The problem in the past with city employees, which we all have, to my knowledge, hired 2 city employees to do things, and I was not for either one of those, but because they were doing EDC work on city time and then billing you for it, essentially doing both. And, they were told just to bill 40 hours a month, things like that. And then they were doing it during business hours, but then billing for it. So one of the questions that we're working through with Matt is that, yes, we are doing stuff on city time, so we're being compensated for it. But if we're here after hours, we're not being compensated. So that's something we have to work out with who and how are we going to be compensated, because the city can't take a hit for that really, because like right now we're here after 5, I would be home getting ready for the Cowboys game tonight, or whatever. So that's something we're working with Matt, and he's researching for us to see how we're going to conquer that. And then for me, it's a little bit of a challenge, but I'm going to figure out a way to work through it, because I may be doing something or waiting on something. I'm like, oh, let me jump over here and do this for EDC. And I haven't, and it may be like 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to keep a note, write that down, and then come back. Like I have to figure out how I can say, okay, I'm only going to work on EDC stuff on Wednesday from 1 to 4 so that I can track it better, And I know Allison will probably get the same way. But like for her, she got your bank statements and she reconciled them all in 2 days or whatever.
Right.
So she knows how much time that took her. So I think the further down the road we go, it's going to be much simpler, because you're going to be in Encode, you're going to be in Municode, which is my software that y'all don't have access to. You're going to have live recordings. You're going to have all the things that you didn't have before. So it's going to be worth it for y'all, but it may cost you a little more money. So, but we're going to work that out with the attorney, and we'll have another draft for you on the next meeting.
So you're gonna work on some block time,
Yeah.
is what you're gonna work on?
Yeah.
Okay. And
The other,
my other quick question on this, and dealing with the services, should those terms be kept broad? So that it encompasses and it makes it easy? I'm just asking, because if we narrow those services,
Mhm.
then it limits what they technically can do. Am I correct? So we want to leave it as broad a verbiage as we can so that it would encompass more?
I don't disagree with you. My only concern would be asking them to perform services that they're not really accustomed to doing, right? So staying within their wheelhouse of
Okay.
their knowledge base, and so that way they're not
So
stepping outside.
administrative services,
right.
that's broad, but it would be within the wheelhouse, right?
Correct.
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah, we're not gonna ask them to run and grab coffee.
Go mow grass or something like that. Yeah.
No. But I just didn't want to get very specific, like say only bank statements, only this, only that. I
Yeah,
need to
and
keep it broad.
I think just saying administrative services in and of itself is pretty broad, but yeah, instead of keeping it that broad, but narrowing it down to specifics on what falls under this category.
And that would include the bookkeeping and.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
So it could be like city secretary, agenda, minutes, recordings, posting on the website, things like that. Those are all administrative, right? Allison, finance, whatever that legal term is, you have to be
Public funds.
public funds
investment.
investment, bank statements,
And what's good is she has her.
quarterly
Was it public
finance
investment
reports, or whatever that is. Yeah.
For public funds, so that's really good.
And I think we have a job description for the administrative assistant for the EDC board, but I may be wrong about that.
Yeah, let's just take it off the
I
website.
thought we had a description. for that, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
And it could be tweaked too. There may be things we can update on it. So,
Yeah.
so this will come back to you at the next meeting.
Okay.
So you can, just have time to review it, and then if you have any,
Sounds good. Moving on to our budget workshop, Lynn and myself and Allison
so it's page 43.
worked through
Page 43 is the new.
many of the line items and a lot of inefficiency, I would say.
Cleanup. We'll
A
say
good cleanup on things, and and also learning how to shore things up a little bit better. Allison, you want to kind of walk us through
Mhm.
the work, and then everybody can chime in after that.
So the first two pages you have 43 and 44, that is the proposed budget for the 25-26 year. And we simplified it a lot, looking at your past budgets and looking at the audit. It looks like what's been happening is you're budgeting to spend every dollar that you have, including money in your CDs, rather than you should be budgeting to spend your current year revenue, okay? If you're bringing in 400,000, you should be spending 400,000. I mean, things happen and you pull out of your savings or your fund balance, of course, but you shouldn't plan every year to spend all of that. So that's kind of what I cleaned up first is we're not gonna, if there's an emergency, there's an emergency, you pull from your fund balance, you don't budget your whole money for that purpose. So we got rid of a lot of that. So to start on the revenue, sales tax revenue, I took that number from the city's budgeted number. You get a portion of our sales tax, so that was the simplest way to do it. So 436,500 is what I projected for your sales tax revenue, and 25,000 for your interest income, which is the interest earned on your 2 CDs and your TechStar account, which is where the 500,000 is for the wastewater plant. So that brings you to a total projected revenue of 461,500. And that is all on your revenue. Those are your only 2 revenue sources. And then on your expenses, we put in 10,000 for administrative, which is what would go to cover Jill and I services, or if you hire somebody,
Either way.
anything like that. Yeah, it was at 8,000. We decided to up it a little this year just because of all the changes and all the things that are going on. So if you don't spend it all, great, but we did up it a little just to cover anything that could happen. Office supplies, 500. Your fidelity bond is 1,500. Dues and memberships, also 1,500. This is where your QuickBooks gets paid out of. And then advertising, 1,000. Training and education, we put in 2,000 and 0 for maintenance and repairs. Do you have any questions on that? Audit fees, I kept at 3,500. We currently don't have an auditor, either does the city. We went out for bids, we got none. So I have no idea what the audit will cost, the EDC or the city at this time. So I kept it the same as what you've paid for your audit the last few years, in hopes that it'll be a similar cost. But
Should the EDC be, or are we gonna maybe decide to use the same auditor that, I mean, in the past, we've always used
same.
the same auditor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Legal fees, 10,000. And that's again, same as last year. I didn't see any need to change that expense. And then further down, we have land improvement on existing property. Manny and Lynn decided to put 80,000 there. We did have 150 last year, and we spent 0, so we lowered that to 80. And then your promotional marketing, you can only give out 10% of your revenue, so you can give out 46,000.
Can we kind of go back on the land improvement on the existing properties? Do any of y'all have any questions on what that might be? Y'all understand what that is?
Well, that's like if we were to take Heritage Park or Pioneer. What's the name of the one that we were talking about? Settlers Park, yes. Improvements
That,
on
or
that
like
if we chose
wanted-
to do so.
Right, or like if we wanted to make, Maple and 11th Street parking lot.
Yeah.
Pave that, or the one across on the con, that parking lot if we want, okay, yeah, good, yeah, I can see that, all right, good. Thank you.
Okay, so your promotional and marketing, so you can spend $46,150. And then you do have a carryover. I'm assuming that you guys aren't going to award the remaining $1,207 by the end of the fiscal year. That's what you have remaining for this current year. So, I mean, if you do choose to give that out, then you won't have that carryover, but I went ahead and plugged it in because that's what you have as of today, so. that
And we
number-
do have some applications, right, that we'll see on the next.
Yeah, you do have
Okay.
some applications for the next agenda, so.
So that was, the Christmas and the Halloween was already
Yeah,
included.
this is
The Christmas and the Halloween are in projects.
Okay.
And then down to,
So all we have is 46,000 something for promotion.
yes.
With the carryover 47.
And are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. And then you have your Best Western Hotel Training Agreement, 12,000. That's a yearly thing y'all pay, so that stays the same. And then we have miscellaneous projects, which is where the Christmas and the Halloween and any of your other agreements are going to come out of. And we have 100,000 there. And then under that, we have the 2 bond payments. You pay half of the city's bond on our principal, so those 2 numbers are in there.
And then, Manny, didn't you say that one of our next agenda items might be that this is gonna,
Yeah, that would
just-
come up in January to do an agreement or something with the city for an ongoing.
So,
do it ongoing instead
so
of
right,
it coming to us every time.
yeah, so what they're talking about is right now, when this was agreed on, when the city took out these loans, the EDC agreed to pay half of the principal. So they never agreed in writing, they just said, we'll pay. So every year, the city has to come to the EDC and request the money, so we pay it, and then EDC pays us back, and it's kind of just, it's like a repeat process every year. So what we would like to do is get it in writing where it's just part of your budget, we don't have to come request it. You pay the city half of that payment once a year.
And it's a consistent amount, I'm assuming.
Yes, it's the same amount every year. It's the 42,500 and the 49,500. It never changes.
And Matt, what's your opinion on that? But
It can be done, it's like an interlocal agreement, we'll just have to make sure we get it in writing, it should be in writing, so we'll get it in writing.
Yeah.
As long as you're budgeting for it every year, it shouldn't be an issue.
The history tracks, so it's just a matter of formalizing it.
And then it makes it one less thing, you know, it has to be on agenda and just makes the whole process easier.
I mean, it may come to an agenda, but it could be a pretty straightforward thing too, so. We'll figure it out. Can be done.
Any questions on that page before we move on to the next page? Okay, so next we have the disc golf course. We put 20,000 there. I think there's still some things to be worked out with that before it's expensed out, but we wanted to keep the funds there. That way they're there whenever that project is ready to move forward. Park restrooms, we put 50,000. And then skate park, 20,000. Do you wanna touch on the restrooms? Y'all are
Yeah,
more
the park
familiar with that
restrooms,
project than
Remember
myself.
that was, a letter agreement to offer the 50,000 grant funds that the city, was awarded, with LDCR?
LCRA.
LCRA, way
Yeah.
off. LCRA, grant by the state, I think it was a state grant.
It's through LCR.
Through LCR. Okay,
All right.
directly from-
Yeah, so y'all discussed that at the last meeting. We don't know yet. We applied. We're not sure
Yeah.
we will or not, but if we don't, then we might can do some other kind of restroom source for 50,000 because we really need something down there at the playground and disc golf. So
It's 100,000 grant, so it'd be 150,000 on the budget totally if we were to get the grant. So, that's where that line item comes in. And then, the rest would be updating or, any safety features or replacing, areas at the skate park to make that, more safe and conducive for the kiddos. And, that's about it on that one.
So that brings your total expense to $451,357. So you do have a revenue over expense of $10,142 that we could allocate or